Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. It's been a tepid close to a lackluster week on the Lal Street. The Sensex and the Nifty end with minor losses on Friday, but post marginal gains for the week. The mid-cap index gains for the fourth straight week. It's day one of the four-day ceasefire in Gaza. Israel military warns that the war is not over yet. Reports say that aid trucks have started entering Gaza from the Egyptian border. The first tranche of hostage release is likely to take place later today. Officials hopeful of rescuing 41 workers trapped inside the Uttarakhand tunnel hope for a breakthrough by this evening. 2 more pipes are being inserted to create an exit way for the workers. The 41 workers have been stuck inside the tunnel now for 13 days. The government will assist citizens in filing FIRs against social media companies for hosting objectionable content, including deepfakes. The Minister of State Rajiv Chandrasekhar says social media platforms have a 7-day deadline to align their terms of service to Section 3 of the IT Act that covers deepfakes. The government and RBI officials to meet banks and payment aggregators next week as cyber fraud cases rise. Sources say the objective of the meeting is to explore effective risk mitigation solutions to this menace. HeroMoto is working on ramping up monthly production of premium bikes to 10,000 units by March next year. CEO Niranjan Gupta tells CNBC-TV18 that their weekly EV production has touched 1,000 units, saying the company will try to regain market share that it lost in the 125cc segment. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. A Qatar court accepts India's appeal against the death penalty to 8 Indian Navy veterans. The next hearing is scheduled on the 30th of November. India's drug regulator begins a pan-India enforcement drive to crack down on poor manufacturing practices in pharma companies. Sources say samples will be picked up randomly from factories and tested. The regulator has directed enforcement teams to take legal action if products are not found to be of standard quality. Rajasthan votes tomorrow in what promises to be a tight contest. More than 5 crore voters will decide the fate of 1,800 candidates across 199 seats. Well, let's start with the market action of the day. The Sensex and the Nifty ending flat after a range-bound session. In fact, it's been a flat week. Bank stocks managing to buck the trend. IT stocks led the decline, with the Nifty IT index losing nearly 1%. That's the story today. 7 points lower, 47 points lower on the Sensex. Nifty Bank up by about 190 points, higher by 0.5%. And the Nifty IT index, as we pointed out, was down by about 1% or so. For the week, the Sensex and the Nifty managing to close in the green. That's the Nifty just about in positive territory. The Nifty Bank higher by about 0.5%, and the Nifty Midcap 100 higher by about 0.5% as well. That is the gains that we've seen specifically for the Nifty Midcap for the fourth straight week. From stocks to crude, Brent crude is trading above $81 a barrel after facing heightened volatility in the recent sessions. However, there is some pressure on prices as oil producers are locked in a dispute over production cuts. Oversupply in output has been weighing on crude prices. U.S. crude inventories jumped by about 8.7 million barrels last week. That's well over the forecast of a million barrel increase. So oil prices continue to be range-bound as well. Market regulator SEBI expects to discuss the proposed changes to voluntary delisting norms at its board meeting tomorrow. The board is likely to tweak delisting rules, making it easier for companies to exit the Lal Street. Rules determining the floor price reference rate for delisting could see changes as well. SEBI could also discuss alternatives to the reverse book building process and the counter-offer framework. The press conference has been scheduled for 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. You can tune in to CNBC-TV18.com and our social media platforms to listen in. Now, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State for Electronics and IT, has said the government will assist citizens to file FIRs against social media companies if they want to file a complaint against objectionable content like deepfakes. A deepfake is a video of a person where the face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else. Deepfakes are largely used to spread misinformation. The government has nominated an officer to assist users in filing FIRs against creators and social media platforms. The minister also said that social media companies have a 7-day deadline to align their terms of use to curb the deepfake menace.
The Rule 7 officer will also be a person who will create a platform where it will be very easy for digital Nagriks to bring to the attention of the Government of India their notices of allegations of or their notices or allegations or reports of violation of law by the platforms, and the Rule 7 officer will take that digital platform information and respond accordingly. So we'll make it very simple for the citizen to report violations of law by platforms to the government, and we'll make it very simple for the government to invoke Rule 7 and make it possible for the citizen to invoke the court of law against a platform that is violating the law.
Well, that's the Minister of State for IT, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. On to CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The government will meet with banks and fintechs on the 28th of November to find ways to mitigate the menace of cyber frauds. We learned from sources that the Reserve Bank and other regulators would also be part of the discussions. Sapna standing by with more details. Sapna, clearly the government concerned about the rise of cyber theft, data breaches, cyber frauds. What's the game plan?
Well, I think going forward it will be significant to watch out whether any particular directions come out from the government, particularly the Finance Ministry, of course, along with the RBI officials. So basically this is slated for Tuesday, November 28, and this is being chaired by the Banking Secretary himself, Mr. Vivek Joshi, along with the RBI officials, of course, and along with that, all the important stakeholders within the government on this issue are going to be present. So officials from NPCI, METI, DOT, TRAI, MHA, even the FIU under the Revenue Department. So it's a big meeting. As I just mentioned, it remains to be seen what kind of particular directions come out. But yes, there is a growing concern within various sectors and segments of the financial market, including the regulator and the government. Last 2-3 odd months, you will see the chain of events. It's pretty much clear. So cyber theft, cyber frauds, as well as data breaches. Just need to watch out what comes out of it. And in the past also, if you look at certain instances, government has taken action on that front, and going forward, we can expect some more. In the past also, the government has met up with Google, and they wanted to understand what is the framework of Google in terms of, the mitigation of risk, financial risks. So some communication is already on at various levels, and we just need to keep a watch on what happens on Tuesday.
All right, Sapna, we will, of course, track that story. Thanks very much. Now, India's drug regulator has begun a pan-India enforcement drive to crack down on poor manufacturing practices in pharma companies. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 the drug regulator has directed enforcement teams to take legal action if products are not found to be of standard quality. Timsy standing by now with the details. Timsy, take us through the drug regulator's plan of action. And I would imagine this is linked to recent instances of contaminated cough syrups and more.
Well, that's right. The drug regulator, CDSCO, has started a major enforcement drive to crack down on poor manufacturing practices. The drive also includes action against public testing labs and clinical research organizations. And this is a pan-India inspection drive on various categories of medicines. And the enforcement teams have been asked to pick up random samples from manufacturing premises itself. The samples to be investigated include that of FDCs, vaccines, syrups, complex formulations, bulk drugs, etc. Sources share that the drive is a joint operation between centre and states, and this move comes in the wake of recent instances of contamination, and the drive will help build confidence post these instances. Sources share that the samples found to be not of standard quality will be sent for further testing at the Central Drug Laboratory, Kolkata, for final analysis. Sources further share that enforcement drive is to ensure production, verification and validation of manufacturing standards, whether they are being followed or not. And these enforcement teams have a clear diktat to take legal actions for non-compliance like production quality norms. The enforcement action is part of the risk-based inspection to ensure GMP practices norms are met. And the last round of the risk-based inspection was carried out in 2016 and 17, and this round will help boost further confidence in the Indian manufacturing sector. Back to you.
Timsy, many thanks for joining us. LIC has clocked its biggest single-day gain since it's listed amidst expectations of a double-digit growth in its new business premiums. With this, the public insurer's stock has rallied as much as 27% over the last 8 months. However, the stock does remain 30% below its IPO price. Similarly, trading volume on the counter hit nearly 2 crores, which is 18 times the 3-month average. The rallies also helped LIC's market cap swell by 38,000 crores. It's not just LIC. Other public sector insurance companies also rallying today, with shares of New India Assurance and General Insurance Corporation of India hitting 52-week highs. Yash is standing by with the details. Yash, what's going on? What's this about?
Well, Shireen, what a superb rally we've seen in these PSU insurance companies, and not just today or yesterday. It's been happening for the past 1 week. Look at something like a New India Assurance stock at 52-week high. Today it was locked in the upper circuit 20%. It's up 41% in the last 7 days and 56% in the last 15 days. GICRE 19% up today, 30% in the last 7 days, 39% in the last 15 days, and LIC, as you mentioned, up 10% today, 13% in the last 7 days. Now, I've been speaking to a few analysts, and there is no structural change which has come about, but a few ancillary factors which are sort of bringing this up move. And the first one is the low float itself in these insurance companies. Let's say in New India Assurance, about 95% stake is held by government and LIC, and only 5% float in the public market. GICRE, again 95% with government and LIC, and just 5% in the public market, and LIC 96.5% with government, just 3.5% in the public market. So low float, low volume, and stocks moving on those low volume. The second one is rotational funds coming into insurance. Last week, the Reserve Bank of India had announced action on NBFCs. Funds have moved from NBFCs in various market counters, insurance being one. And third one is valuation comfort in these PSU general insurance companies. All three companies trading at very cheap valuation as compared to the private players. That also gives comforts and invites funds into these insurance companies. But very importantly, even after this very strong rally, these stocks are very far from the issue price. LIC is about 30% away from its issue price. GICRE about 34% from its issue price. New India, from the current point, it has to double to reach its IPO or issue price.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Supreme Court has reserved its verdict in the Adani Hindenburg matter. The petitioners and the government lawyers wrapped up their arguments today. Ashmit is standing by with more on what transpired in court. Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. This has, of course, been ongoing for months now, many delays. Finally, the matter resting in court, the order reserved.
Well, indeed, the CJI-led bench of the Apex Court has finally reserved its judgment after hearing all the sides in this matter. Here are the key takeaways from today. As far as SEBI is concerned, in the month of August, they had filed an affidavit. Today, they formally made a submission before the CJI that as far as the investigations are concerned, they've only exceeded the prescribed timeline by 10 days, that there were 24 cases in which 22 matters have been completed for investigations. There are only 2 pending, because information is sought from regulators overseas. With respect to suggestions that fell from the expert committee on tightening of regulations, there the SEBI has submitted before the top court that these suggestions are welcome. Welcome subject to some wiggle room because there are some administrative issues. They've said that there is some reworking required on part of SEBI, on part of the central government, with respect to checking for volatility in case of short selling of shares. That is an aspect that SEBI said is being considered. The expert committee recommendations are being considered. With respect to submissions that were made by the petitioners on possible cases of conflict with respect to members of the expert committee, there the Supreme Court was not happy. For instance, in case of Somsekhar Sundaresan, the top corporate lawyer who made it to the Bombay High Court yesterday, there the Supreme Court said that the assertion that he argued 17 years back for Adani does not disqualify him from this expert committee. This submission that the petitioners were trying to make is that there is a need felt for an SIT, a court-appointed independent SIT to investigate the matter. The Supreme Court has heard the argument, but nonetheless has poked holes that as far as the evidence available is concerned, it's only the Hindenburg report, it's only journalistic reports, that this cannot serve as the foundation, cannot serve as gospel truth. So these are some initial observations, of course. All eyes now will be on the Apex Court to decide on the way forward on whether the SEBI's investigation meets the standards that were laid down by the Apex Court, or whether there is further wiggle room, there is further need for investigation that the Apex Court may be tempted to direct. So all eyes now on the Apex Court for the way forward on the Adani Hindenburg case.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. The matter now reserved in the Supreme Court. It's the end of the hearings. Well, a 4-day ceasefire has commenced in Gaza after nearly 7 weeks of war. Israel has said the pause is temporary and does not indicate an end to the war. 50 Israeli hostages, all women and children, will be released by Hamas as part of this deal. Israel, on its part, will release 150 Palestinian women and children from their jails. Reports suggest that Hamas will release 13 hostages today. Israel will release 39 Palestinian prisoners. The deal also allows for the entry of more humanitarian convoys and relief aid into the Gaza. Aid trucks have begun entering the Gaza Strip by the Egyptian border. There have been reports of sirens blaring at places populated by Israeli communities near Gaza. Israel has also warned Palestinians against moving to northern Gaza. Well, we would head into a break, but up next, a Qatar court accepts India's appeal against the death penalty to 8 former Indian Navy veterans. The next hearing is scheduled on the 30th of November. That and more when we return. Rescue operations in the Uttarakhand tunnel collapse in the final stages is what we're given to understand. Officials are hopeful of being able to rescue the 41 workers who've been trapped for the last 13 days. The hope is that there could be a breakthrough this evening. 2 pipes are being inserted through the debris to create an exit way for the trapped workers. A statement from Geo says that the company was able to put up was the only mobile operator at the rescue site during the first 2 days of the rescue operations. Network 18's Anshul Singh is here with more on the progress so far. Anshul.
Welding of the 9th pipe, and then another 2.5 hours for that pipe to be inserted. Then again approximately 2 hours for the welding process to be completed, and then again probably an hour and a half to 2 hours for the last pipe to go inside. And that pipe, what the rescuers are hoping, that pipe will be the pipe that will make the breakthrough, and we will finally reach the other side of the debris where the workers have been trapped for the last 13 days now. Post that, the cleaning of that pipe will happen, which could yet again take another hour and a half to 2 hours, and then the team of NDRF and paramedics will go inside, and then they will finally start sending out people, and that entire process is going to take another probably 2 hours for all the 41 workers to be taken out. So by late night now, we are expecting, the timeline has now shifted, and now by late night we are expecting that these people would start coming out. Yet again, hopes and prayers that this was the last obstructions that the rescuers had to face. If at all there are more obstructions, we can yet again expect this time to be extended yet again.
Well, all hopes that we see a breakthrough by this evening. Now, Qatar court has accepted an appeal filed by the Indian government against the death penalty granted to 8 former Indian Navy personnel. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 the matter will be heard soon. Parikshit standing by now with more. Parikshit, so at least an appeal being allowed to be taken up. Take us through what happens next.
Well, what are the immediate implications of this? Well, this means that India has got the copy of the judgment that was given out by the Court of First Instance in Qatar, which had sentenced these 8 former Indian Navy sealers to death. They have now exercised their right to appeal. The Indian government is not directly involved as far as the legal appeal goes, but yes, they are supporting the families with consular access and with legal assistance as well. Remember, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had earlier met the families of these sailors in New Delhi and had gone on to say that we will do everything we can to secure their release. This appeal, we believe, is likely to be heard very soon. And once the appeal process in the Qatar courts is over, if it does not go in our favor, then there will be one big option available, and that would be seeking a pardon from the Emir of Qatar. When is that going to happen? We don't know. But yes, this is an issue that could be taken up diplomatically at the highest levels. We've been repeatedly asking our sources in the government whether this has been taken up diplomatically over the last few months or not, or for example, the last 1 year, because they have been in detention, under arrest since August last year, but there have been no comments on that. We've also been told that since the time they were sentenced to death about a month back, we've at least got consular access once. The families of the sailors, we're told, have been getting access regularly, and these are families who are in Qatar right now.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. That is the latest in the matter that deals with the judgment that's come in from Qatar and the Indian government's appeal. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Plenty more up next.